Join us each Saturday for the Justice is Here podcast, an innovative, revolutionary podcast that speaks to justice for all party members across America. We'll speak to leadership, we'll speak to activists, and most of all, we want to hear your opinion. So if you're tired of the two-party system and how it doesn't work for you, tune into this podcast to learn how we can take back the justice that we deserve. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the 19th episode of the Justice is Here podcast, the only podcast that I know that's dedicated to the Justice for All party. I'm Tracy. I'm going to let my guest introduce himself here in a moment, but we got a couple little bills that we have to pay. First, visit the website at justiceforall.us. Again, the website is justiceforall.us. One more time, justiceforall.us. That is where you can learn about the party, our platform, what it is we're looking to do. Definitely visit that website. Subscribe to the channel so that when we go live, you'll be the first one, and hit that notification button. But subscribe, because that helps us get the word out about the podcast. Our goal is 1,000 for 2025. So we're at 373 right now. So we got a long way to go, but I know we can do it. So please hit that subscribe button. You can follow the podcast on Blue Sky. We got somebody else coming in, but I'll get them here after the announcements. Blue Sky is kind of like Twitter, but minus the racism. So that's the easiest way for me to describe it. Help us to get, and this number did go up, 75 likes and 45 shares. That means we really need you all to do your job. Get 75 of your friends. You got a cell phone, you got social media, get it out there so people can learn about the podcast. And final announcement, mark your calendars. Saturday, August the 30th, 2025 at 6:00 p.m. Join us for the JFA Fundraising-A-Thon. We're going to have entertainment, interviews. I might pull out a special surprise. Our goal is to raise $25,000 in one evening. So tell you now, it seems like it's a far ways, but next month is July. We're already at June the 21st. So get your tickets. Make sure to tune into that show. I'll talk a little bit about it at the end of this show, because we also need talent for that show. So, but make sure to definitely mark your calendars for August the 30th. Preparing myself for a 3-hour show is going to be fantastic. We're going to have a lot of fun. Henry, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Tracy. Hey, Timothy. Good to see you as well. That was a killer opening.
That was opening? I'm sorry.
That was an amazing opening. It was super cool, and I felt super excited. Like the beginning of one of those, they used to have those shows on in the local news where they would have the guy who was the expert. They would have the big, opening for him, and the drum would be quartz and and that was cool. It was a really cool opening. It's good to see you.
So we are definitely going to talk a lot of Justice for All news. But before I do, because Timothy was on last week, so thank you, Timothy. My whole schedule messed up, but that's what happens when you're a content creator and you're working solo. You kind of get your schedules mixed up. So I definitely appreciate Henry and Timothy coming in to help me out in this pinch. But we'll have just one guest next week. Promise. And they'll get to it. So I want to start out, and I don't want to do this because I have a show tomorrow, but I have to talk about. No, you know what? I want to do something different. I'm not going to talk about the impending World War III that we have going on because that's just a whole discussion, and it just depresses me. Um, I want to talk about something that depresses me less. And I'm finding, especially being on Facebook, that a lot of people think that the midterms are going to be our answer to what Trump is doing. And I'm really scared that people are going to fall into the trap of thinking the midterms are going to somehow magically fix all the things that are going to go wrong or that are going wrong.
It's no coincidence that midterms start with M. They're going to be mid. They're going to have a lot of money. And they're gonna, be what the media uses to, try to have a stick to see who's up, who's down, and reduce all the different things that are going on into just a basic barometer.
Yeah, because I'm just hearing people talk, and I'm like, guys, no, the problem remains the same. As long as you have the uniparty running things, nothing is going to change. And
here's the wonderful place where I pop in. We've got the Justice for All Party right now in its infancy, but there's no reason why we can't and we shouldn't have dozens of candidates running by 2026. That's going to change the landscape of what's going on. The biggest question is how many people are still attached to the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. From the polls that I've most recently heard about from Fox News, we're apparently over 50% of the Fox News pollers are now in a state of dissatisfaction with the current administration. It seems, not surprisingly to us, that both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party support the same thing when it comes to wars and investing in the military and not spending on the people. So here we have the opportunity to step in and be the party with morality and be the party of peace. It's an opportunity not to be missed.
yeah, I definitely agree with you. I so agree with you. And, I'm going to sound like the biggest hypocrite in the entire world. But I definitely think what Tim is saying is on point. We need to be out there because I say this almost every week, it seems like. I've never seen a time where Democratic voters are frustrated with their own Democratic Party and Republicans are frustrated with their own Republican Party. I've never seen that.
And when less people are voting than ever. That's the saddest part of all of this, too. People, when they get frustrated, when they see nothing for them, they tune out, and our democracy stops working because it's just the people who have some sort of interest in the game who end up stepping forward.
Yeah, and I think we have a two-tiered approach that we have to look at. One is we've got to get people. The couch has got to stop winning elections. The couch has got to stop winning elections. The couch has got to stop winning elections. I'll say it again. The couch has got to stop winning elections. Too many people sit down and don't do anything. And then as soon as something pops off to the, I can't believe this is happening. Well, guess that's what happens when you don't participate.
I don't know. The armchair's been giving it a run for its money lately. I mean, I think it's really quite competitive.
Yeah, but I need people to take their frustration with government because they're right to be frustrated. Nothing changes. Nothing's going to change until we get out of the so-called two-party system. We know that. That's just a basic fact.
Here's the statistic here's the statistic that I like to back that up with. As you're trying to get people to leave the two-party system, at the moment, you come across a great deal of people who are saying, okay, I'm dissatisfied with Trump. I'm like, guess what? Last election, there were over 160 million voters that did not vote for Trump. He got less than 78 million voters. That shows you there's a lot of people, the vast majority of the people, that did not support him at the polls. Now the question is, how do we get them to actually support a candidate? I mean, as far as I can tell, there are no differences between the Republican and the Democratic Party when it comes to their policy in what they vote for and what they actually push for when they're in power. So once
I
again,
mean, yeah, you're
we're
right.
the opportunity.
We know the difference, but again, looking in Facebook world, because that's where I live, I think I posted something like, yeah, if Kamala Harris was president, Secretary of State Liz Cheney would be talking about bombing Iran at this point. You would have thought I said the earth is flat, the sun is green, ducks don't quack. I mean, people when they're on their teams, especially the vote blue, no matter who crowd, because they irk my nerves. I can't. I try. I really try, but I'm like, you know what? Just stay there. I don't even care anymore. But I think that's a contingency that we have to deal with, right? They're so on their team, they refuse to see that their team is just like the other team. They're like, oh, well, she would never do that. Now, would Harris have fired all the federal employees illegally? Probably not. I'll give her that much, that little bit of much. But guarantee, I want everybody to listen to my words carefully. If she were president, we would still be talking about bombing Iran. She literally said it in an interview that she did with 60 Minutes that she thought that Iran was a threat because they have nuclear weapons. Because apparently it's okay for Americans to have weapons, but not China and not Iran and not Russia.
And I'm sure you've heard this before too, but it's this very similar story, right? What was first of all, they've been saying Iran is, it's almost going to be a nuke. It's going to be, tomorrow, whatever, every single day for years and years and years and years and years. But, two, what was the whole thing about going into Iraq, right? It was, oh, they have nuclear weapons, they have nuclear weapons, they have nuclear weapons. We had Colin Powell testify before the United Nations Security Council. They have nuclear weapons. That was a complete lie. And he was a very honorable man who was just trot out there to say that lie, and was, it destroyed his career, it destroyed our credibility, and there was none. And it was a huge mistake just to give these arms manufacturers another paycheck. And that was what ended up happening, and it's just, we're falling into the same cycle again, and everyone's treating it like it's a brand new thing. We've never seen this song and dance before. We've never seen this story. This story's never happened before.
I think about how many Americans and how many Iraqis and how many Afghanis and others died over lies about weapons of mass destruction in 2003. And we're hearing the same story now. It's the same story. Weapons of mass destruction, these ones are nuclear. Well, we've been hearing that they had, days away from nuclear weapons for decades now. This is ridiculous.
And it's like, for me, it's the hypocrisy, right? We know there are at least two nations that I know of have nuclear weapons: United States and Israel. Those two have weapons. So you want these two to have weapons, but nobody else. That makes no sense to me. Maybe I don't understand international politics the way I should, but it's always been the hypocrisy. And when I engage with people on Facebook, it's like they just think, oh no, she would never do that. Are you kidding me? She thought campaign with Liz Cheney was a flex. Newsflash, it's not a flex.
Do you know who else has nuclear weapons? Russia, North Korea, China, Pakistan. All of them have lined up with
UK.
Iran, saying that all of those have lined up with Iran and said, we're with you. If they launch nukes, we'll launch nukes back.
And
You
another
took the
thing,
words right out
where
of my
we're at.
mouth.
yeah,
Timothy.
you
It's
sure did, because
another
I just literally thought
proxy
that.
battle.
That's like, my preference, nobody have nuclear, in a perfect world, nobody would have nuclear weapons. They're dangerous. No, we wouldn't have them. But if you don't have them, if you just don't have them, don't tell some other, no, you can't have them. We can, but you can. That makes no sense to me. I'm just like, and you're okay with this? I keep wondering from Democratic voters, they're okay with their party literally going to war for no reason.
Well, you know what else is crazy? And for those who don't know, I have a degree in world history. We're literally doing some history that I remember living back in the 80s. And it's when I first came across Dr. Cornel West, as a matter of fact. We're dealing with apartheid in Israel, the same way that we were dealing with apartheid in South Africa then. Israel was a big supporter of the apartheid South African government at the time. We're still dealing with that. And we're dealing with this nuclear threat that's going back and forth again. I remember the marches that happened in the 80s against the intercontinental ballistic missiles. That's what was going on. Those were the two big things that were in the news, along with, as always, the need to end mass incarceration, which we've needed to do in this country for the longest time. Obviously, we're the most incarcerated country on the planet, and that says that we have bad human rights conditions here.
No. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Nope, you go ahead.
No, I mean, I was just gonna say, continuing that cyclical nature too. When was the last time there were protests on campuses like this about divesting from a regime? It was the, it was apartheid South Africa that students were standing up, and where they were getting beaten, and where everyone was vilifying them, and where people were talking about, oh, they're so unpatriotic, and we have to, you were having, arguments about deporting people and all these sorts of things. The last time it was just the 90s. We've completely forgotten. We get it's like the Men in Black brain wipe has happened to us every single time there's another news story. It's the same thing happening again. And really, look who came out as being right in that story. Look how we all pretend as if it was very cut and dry, and that there weren't people trancing around the United States Congress and the UK Parliament saying that Nelson Mandela was a terrible person and should be in prison, and now they're walking around saying, "Oh,
Joe Biden went to visit him in prison." You can't say that.
Yeah.
Joe Biden went to be. I keep telling you, it was not Dr. King that wrote the "I Have a Dream" speech. It was Joe Biden. He sat there and said, "Hey, Joe, I don't know what to do." And Joe said, "I got you."
What other history will they revise? What else will they go back and retcon? What else will they make into pure black and pure white, as though we're just living in a world of Star Wars? What is this?
Yeah, I think this is my next level of discussion, is because Penny, hello, Penny, and I'm going to get to the other comments here in a second. So Penny says, Henry, because she said distinctly to you, please elaborate on the philosophy of our party versus the ideology of other parties.
Well, the ideology of like the two main parties in our country is just power, right? It's you do anything to keep, maintain, and exercise power. So the ideology can change depending on whoever gives you the money to obtain power, you advance those interests. And the Justice for All Party is a party built on values, which is something very, very different than power, because power is not a value. You can even talk about power as a verb or something like that. Um, and we are a party built on, Dr. West's phrase, justice is what love looks like in public. We are a party built on a tradition of cooperation, of community, of love, of justice, of standing up for one another, of the values that make us human and real people. I guess I would say that as a succinct way to try to describe our party.
Okay, somebody said that. Okay, so Theus is in the comment section, so I'm gonna bring up his comment because I want you to answer this. So this complex mind supplement says respectfully, JFA wants power. That's why it wants to take control of the government.
But you
Sure.
achieve power through, how do you build lasting power, right? Because you can go and I can just say, I'm going to give everybody exactly what they want, or I'm going to tell everyone exactly who the enemy is, and I can achieve power tomorrow. But how long am I going to last? How long is that power going to last before I need to fabricate another story? Truly lasting, enduring, popular power comes from capturing people's emotions, people's hearts, people's minds, through fighting and building the world you believe in, that you want to see, and bringing people there with you on that journey, on that vision. So JFA will take power, and it will not be super, super fast. It will be slow. It will start with cities. It will start with towns. It'll start with counties. It'll start with states before it goes all the way up to this federal government. There's not going to be a Justice for All president next cycle or the cycle after that. But when it does have power, it will have support behind it, unification behind it, people believing in those ideas, and not just about, I support justice for all because I don't want these other people to win, or I support justice for all because I hate this group of people, or I support justice for all because, gosh darn it, I gave them a lot of money, I'm expecting a return on my investment. They're gonna support justice for all because it's building what you want to see.
I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to slightly disagree with you because in general, I agree with you. Oh, no, the time for justice for all to win, even the White House, is now. It's now. How incompetent is Donald Trump? Literally, he makes me look like a viable presidential candidate. And I'll tell you now, when it comes to international affairs, you could take one of those little bitty stickies, cut it in half, and I know that little section. This man is so incompetent. I wish the media would just do a black out of him. Like anytime he holds don't cover it because we don't want to see him. But then I look at the other side, they're incompetent too. What my hope is, what we can do is build people's frustration, because people are definitely frustrated. I mean, I said it before. Democrats are mad at their Democratic representatives. Republicans are mad at their Republican representative. And somehow we've got to figure out the magic in the sauce and be like, hey, neither one of these parties are going to stop funding wars. Neither of these parties are going to fund Medicaid or Medicare. I mean, people are talking about, oh, the Trump budget, the big beautiful bill or whatever it's called, is going to cut Medicare. Newsflash: Joe Biden wanted to cut Medicare. I don't know if people know that he literally kicked people off of Medicaid. Same thing. Nothing's going to change until we, the voters, say, you know what? I've had enough. And I want us to start thinking about how can we change the conversation. Because I think if we can change the mindset of people to think, oh, I just got to vote for these people. You know, we got two things. We got to, one, get people off the couch. One, just definitely get them off the couch and get engaged into politics, because that's the least you can do. And second, Don't vote for the Uniparty. They're terrible. They're going to not do right by you.
Just to address the question from the commenter, I'd like to concur with Tracy. I think the time is now. But I did comment yes when you said Justice for All just wants to take power. I'm not running for office, I promise you, because there are better people in my community that can run. And when they run, that's who I will be supporting. So that's how that makes sense for me. If you're watching and you think that you could be a great candidate for Justice for All Party, by all means, let us know, because I don't see any reason why that doesn't make a lot of sense. That being said, I want to take a second and shout out on a mutual aid project I do regularly to Deacon Renee Jones. She runs the food pantry that I work at every couple weeks. I also want to shout out to a women's group called The Link, if I'm not mistaken, and the Omega Psi Phi fraternity of Manatee County, who came out and fed people, clothed people, and sent them home with boxes and boxes of groceries. Thank you also to the mayor of Palmetto, who came out and said some words and helped support the event as part of his feeding program.
And I think that's the kind of thing that we can do. Not to just get, because let me get my thoughts right. Go ahead, because I got to get, because I know what I want to say, and it's like I'm trying to get it in order so it'll make sense.
You know, there's two arguments to be won too. I mean, there's the argument of inaction versus action. So first of all, people are not involved in their communities. They have not been for a very, very long time. That number of people who do the kind of things that Timothy was describing has unfortunately been slipping. And that's a big reason why we are where we don't love our neighbor, is because we don't even know who our neighbors are. And we are not also sharing and building that common humanity and building also the kind of communities we want to see that look out for each other. So there's the argument to be won on action versus inaction. And then there's, once that argument is won, and once we say to people, yes, you should be involved, and yes, you should be giving direct service to people, and yes, you should be out there building your community, building people up, building the world you want to see, and which will make you happier too. Then the second argument to be won is our politics versus their politics. But once you choose action, that's not an argument that you really need to win, because it's very, very clear what the politics of love, truth, and justice look like versus the politics of give me more money so I can retain power. And people feel that too. People feel that, and they know that. They just need to now believe that there is something viable.
Yep, and now I got it. Now I got my thoughts. So to say that the Justice for All Party wants power, yes. But here's the difference, right? With power used righteously comes responsibility. Not to run some kind of crazy, I'm going to just be king and I'm going to insert Don Jr. or Ivanka or whatever. With the type of power we're talking about puts the people in power, right? The power isn't at the top. The power is at the bottom. The power is at the mutual aid project that gives to people that needs it. Making sure the government funds those type of things so that they can do food distribution programs. So we can have a federal Guaranteed Jobs Act so that people can work, right? That's the type of power we're talking about. I'm not talking about power in, oh, look at me, I can go in and I just bomb whoever I want to bomb, or I can do whatever it is I want to do. That's not what I think about when I think about power. I think about power in the terms of prosperity, all of us being prosperous, all of us succeeding, all of us being able to afford a can of soup, a chicken, some tuna, a roof over our head, guaranteed housing, health care, free college, forgiveness of student loan debts. I think that's the type of power that we're talking about. Using the Justice for All Party to advocate for that demonstration of power, not necessarily this power of, hey, we just got this title and whatever I say goes. And no, that's not what we're talking about.
Well,
And
keep in mind, we have a platform, and
Absolutely.
as of 2024, the Republican Democratic Party, or if you want to separate them, do it however you feel like it. I don't see the difference. Did not have a platform. They just
No,
didn't.
Kamala wanted to build 3 million houses.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for giving me that look. I want to thank you because I'm like, if you believe that she was gonna build 3 million houses, let me tell you what you also believe in: the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, and that little leprechaun on the Lucky Charms box. Them the three things you believe in. If you think she was gonna build 9,
if that leprechaun just gets a few more Lucky Charms, he'll be able to build 4 million houses.
Yeah.
You don't understand.
You
He's
didn't
got a
vote for
plan.
me, obviously, and you're so right. It's like what platform? Trump's was secure the border. Personally, I don't see how you can have a border on stolen land, but hey, that's just me. I know that view isn't popular among people, and people don't necessarily attain to that. But I'm like, okay, if we're gonna do that, then hey, shouldn't your wife be deported? Because she wasn't born in this country. I mean, are we just gonna deport brown immigrants, or are we just gonna just make this? I mean, it's so frustrating to me that we need to be better marketers of our, and I know I'm not the best person to do that, but I'm trying.
I mean, you're an amazing marketer, Tracy. You are the voice and the feeling of all you, and you built this platform. You built this platform. You got Cornell West on this platform. You brought all these different people together on this platform. You built this huge audience. I mean, but one thing off of what you were saying, Tracy, is this power conversation. Power is, I can do something to you. I can, be cruel to you, and you can't do anything back to me because I have power over you. And what the politics of power is too is essentially like, we will dominate them, for you, and you will be in charge of them, or blah blah blah. And there's different types of, that is power, and that's why, the cipher about power, or whatever bad guy you want to use, they're kind of looking for power. But I don't think Voldemort was like, hey, we should all just share and have a good time. But there's also agency. There's having a role in your life. There's having a feeling that you are driving your life. You are driving your decisions. You have enough to fulfill your dreams, to have ambition, to be able to accomplish and go out and do the things you want to do, to have choices and opportunity. And right now there's no choices and opportunity.
Right. And
so you have no agency. And so we are not even the party of power. Leave that to the Democrats, Republicans. We are the party of agency. This is agency for you to be able to make your own decisions for where you live, to have the same kind of opportunities and pathways available as somebody somewhere else.
okay, so we gotta feedback from these. So he says, I get it. You're only speaking to yourselves. Kamala says build affordable housing, and you laugh because I still don't think she would have done it. But okay, that's just me. Trump says he'll stop poverty, and you laugh. I don't think I ever heard. Well, maybe he did. You say universal health care, and they laugh. So I guess he's saying that she did have a platform, but I must have missed. Didn't see.
At some point, she came out with some kind of points. There wasn't a whole lot behind it. It continued to evolve as the campaign was evolving. But I'm like, what were you doing while you were sitting at the second chair? And when you told us you're not going to change anything, then we barely need a platform, because we've seen what Joe Biden did, and we've seen what Donald
I
Trump
keep
did.
telling you, he wrote the I Have a Dream speech. Give the man some credit. He wrote it. It was him. He sat there and he gave Dr. King tips. He said, "Don't do all that stuff you do. Put this in." I'm sorry, Henry. I still can't with the I visited Nelson Mandela in prison. I'm like, dude, what? Really?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was an election for many Americans that boiled down to nothing changes or something changes. And Trump has not changed any, policy very drastically. He has changed the tone of the presidency and called it a change in society and lifestyle and vision and policy and everything like that. And many Americans have bought that. But it was an election where people said, no, I don't like the way things are going. And one seems to say I'm going to keep it the same, and one seems to say I'm going to change it, so I'm going to go with the person who's going to change it. But to complex mind, simple man's point, of course they will say whatever, and I'm sure Trump or Kamala will give many speeches where they say whatever the goal is, affordable housing, stopping poverty, whatever. But the end goal is, do they actually believe it? Because if you believe something, you fight for it, you try to make it happen. But if somebody says you're going to go out there on that stage right now and you're going to talk about building affordable housing, right? And that idea just came to you because somebody said you have to go out there and say it. Do you really believe that? Are you really going to follow through on that vision? And that's the issue with parties of power, right? Is if you have parties of power, you just have to keep power. So you will build and talk about, whatever, as long as it keeps to the next thing. But the instant the people who, fund these large things start talking about something else, you're talking about something else. So today they're talking about affordable housing. Tomorrow they're talking about, luxury housing. The next day they're talking about no housing and we all live in fancy caves. You're going to go and, talk about whatever those things are. In the meantime, nothing is going to get done because you don't actually have any vision or plan for the country. You just have hopping around.
You know what? And a great example of that is way back in 2020 when Biden won the election. He said, "I owe the Black community my victory." And I will never forget it. Apparently, he was lying because he totally forgot it. A couple weeks later, at a meeting with civil rights leaders, he basically said to Black people, "You know what? You better work with the Hispanics. I'm supposed to go vote for that." So so this is going for a show. But he was saying his point is he wants us to tell what results we're advocating for. I think we've said that. We've advocated.
Well, let me give you a specific that I know that the Democratic Republican Party is against because it's big
Universal
money
health care.
behind it. How do we pay for things like continuing Social Security and likely creating universal health care? We remove the cap on FICA. Currently, there is a cap about $176,000, if I'm not mistaken, give or take $5,000. I'm pretty sure I'm on point. That cap is where rich people stop paying on their income, as opposed to poor people, which is to say anybody $176,000 in annual income or under, pay to FICA on every dollar that they earn. Rich people stop paying when they reach that threshold. There's no reason why rich people should not be taxed on every dollar the same way that poor people are taxed on every dollar.
But you know why we won't do this, right? And y'all know I'm a big MMTer because I'm over there now. I'm like, we don't really have to do this, but I get where you're going, and I'm not saying I'm opposed to it because what you using that money for. But here's what I will say: how do we? It's a good question. I'm shocked that because he's got to prepare for a show, but how do we tell people the difference between us and a Democrat or us and a Republican?
Well, here's something that neither of them ever offer. They might offer targeted programs to specific groups that for some reason they support or have supported them, back and forth. What they do not offer is universal programs. Everything they offer is always means tested to cut people out, to limit people,
Exactly. Yes.
to deny people, as opposed to we're interested in offering universal programs that are available to everyone. They should not have to jump over hurdles and fill out paperwork. We're wasting money on administration of those programs that could be spent on providing services of those programs. If we make them universal, we're providing for the American people. That's not being done by the Democratic Republican Uniparty.
Because you can't help people who are the wrong people. You can't help people who are the bad people. And that's their whole. And if you ever talk to a child who wants a cookie, right? You go to a store with a child, or you're shopping, and there's a kid, and the kid had picked some item up, and goes to the parent and is like, I want this item, and the parent's like, no, we're not getting that item. The kid's not like thinking logically, right? The kid is just going to shout down the parent, especially if they're like 2 or 3 or really young, where they just know being loud. They're just loud, right? They're like, no, I need this now, I gotta have it now. And the parent tries to explain the rational argument. They're like, no. And so it really becomes about, and then let's say they have a sibling who wants something too, right? Because who's louder, right? Who just voice fills the room, fills the aisle, where all you can hear, no matter where you go, is that voice. And that is the Trump style of government, right? You pick a topic and you just get loud, and all you can hear is that. And that's unfortunately also, in a different stylistic way, the Democratic style of government is it's the same thing of we put our thing out there and we say it and we say it, and there's no reasoning behind why it's important or why it's good. It's just, we're saying it, we're flooding the airwaves. You're getting mail, you're getting targeted ads, you're getting emails every day. We're having people going on the news and they say it and they say it and they say it and they say it. And we're saying, we're going to have a conversation with you. We're not just going to scream at you until your ears are just ringing with what we're saying. We're going to have a conversation and we're going to bring you in. And I think that's a real key.
We're going to actually listen. We're going to actually we're going to listen. See, we're not going to listen to APAC or Big Pharma or big tech or big whatever big is, right? We're listening to, I don't know, these people called constituents. Those people, the people that sent us, in theory, I'm not saying us on this panel, but us under Justice for All who are going to occupy those offices. We're responsible to our supporters. I am not running for office, but I'm about to go a little bit political here. If for some odd reason I ever decided to run for office, which again is kind of in the back of my mind now, but it's not up at, yeah. But there's a responsibility in running for office. And I think Dr. West talked about this last time, the last time I interviewed him. It's justice is what love looks like, or something public. Something in that vein.
Justice is what love looks like in public.
Thank you. And that's the core of what our party is, right? We're talking about truth, justice, and love. You have to tell the truth. It may not be the prettiest truth out there. We have to demand justice. And of course, we have to demonstrate love. Love does not cut off SNAP benefits and then tell people to work. People with SNAP are already working. People who, I know people out there, y'all shocked, but people who have SNAP actually have jobs. Love isn't, I'm going to cut HBCU funding. Love is not, I'm going to kick 15 million people off of Medicaid because of the pandemic and then try to use that same pandemic as an excuse for student loans, knowing good and well that was going to get thrown out the courts. That's not love. So I think what we need to concentrate on is demonstrating truth, justice, and love. I hope that made sense.
Well, I always like to, when I get into a political discussion, try to remind myself I'm not always the best, but try to remind myself to lead with love and come with the understanding that you're supposed to, in my life anyway, love thy neighbor as thyself. So if you're talking to someone else, that's your neighbor. And even if they're saying things that sound ridiculous, I'm supposed to lead with love. Figure out what is the best way for us to exist as a society, even if you're calling me names while I'm moving this platform forward. I can take some names. I'm okay with it. I don't mind.
You call me out my name, we're gonna have some problems. I ain't there yet. I'm trying. I'm really trying, yeah. I'm really, really trying. I'm not there yet. But I think that's where we need to concentrate on. And I want to get into Nelson has something here. The principal goal of the Justice for All Party is to get those who are willing to run to help take down the empire who has war's priority over human rights condition. See, Nelson, I think you should run for office. No, I'm serious. I'm very serious. Because, I mean, Nelson's been at this show and my last show from like the very beginning. So I
Nelson
already know.
should run for Nelson, run for office with us. Get in touch. Nelson, we will help you.
Because I think that's the thing that I want us to concentrate on, not that I'm on the committee. So I want to start moving into what committee you guys are on. Because I know, Tim, we talked about this. I'm like, well, what committee? Because you want to be on a soon-to-be coming committee. So you haven't necessarily picked your committee just yet. So this will probably be more.
The standing committees that were set up for the Justice for All National Party were set up largely to deal with functional needs of the entity, as opposed to being focused on the political nature, which is to find candidates and to help them step forward and run, and hopefully run a successful campaign. And we can absolutely consider it a successful campaign if you get on the ballot. We can absolutely consider it a successful campaign if you do any number of events with your community that are mutual aid events, where you're out there helping the people help each other. We can absolutely call it a win for all these reasons. And of course, if you win, well, that's obviously a win. So that's what we're trying to do. That's the committee that we know is coming, and in the process, I'm trying to reach out to folks and encourage them. We'd like to hear from you. We'd like you to run. We are reaching out to a number of our activist folks and trying to encourage the Justice for All Party folks who've been around doing this kind of work for over a year now, to step forward as well.
And Henry, what committees? Because I know there's more than one that you were on.
So, I mean, right now I sit more on, any political party has two sides of it, right? There's the party side of we are the party, being a party activist, supporting the candidates, trying to see our vision come out on top, living our vision, living that truth, showing up for our vision. And then there's the boring legal governmental facing portion of the party. So I'm on a lot of committees that deal with that as the deputy treasurer. So like the rules committee and, finance and budget committee.
Henry's on those committees that I don't have the patience to serve on. I'm just like, give me a job, tell me what you want me to do, and let me go. but I'm on the fun committee. I'm on the convention committee. I'm on the committee that gets to nominate the president of the United States and set the platform. But it's a little bit more detailed than I thought. If you had told me when I organized the first Medicare for All March in Indiana, which was 4 years ago, that I would be implementing a new political party, I would have called you crazy. I just said, there's no way. You got to be out of your mind. It's not in me. I don't want to do it. It's too much work. Well, guess what? This is where it led me, right? And I think for me, because I was just looking, I'm like, well, what seems to be, because the rules committee, I already knew I was going to be like, see that everything's not for everybody, which is why we need more volunteers, right? This is why we need volunteers. You take your gifts and you plug them into what's already there. My gift is I like to have fun. I like to communicate to people. I like doing outreach. What better way than having a big old convention where I can wear my church hat and say yes and do that 50 state roll call where every state plus the District of Columbia gets up and says who it is they're pleased to nominate. See, that's what I'm into. We actually, FYI, we have our first meeting tomorrow. And so we're meeting, I don't know, when did the rules committee meet?
It's already met. It's right now moved to, it's doing weekly meetings.
Okay, so you guys are doing every week. We're doing every other week because our real work won't even start until we hear from all the other ones. We're like, okay, yeah, we can set a date, but when there's a convention, I'm saying this for the people out there who don't know, the Democrats have a convention, the Green Party has a convention, the Libertarian Party, they all have conventions basically to nominate who it is that they want to be president. Now, ours is ours is pretty much the same in terms of what our goals are. We'll be presenting the platform officially, although it's kind of already out there, but we'll be presenting that and kind of formalizing that. Like I said, we just meet tomorrow. So, anybody out there, you do have to, if I'm right, you don't have to be on the national committee to attend the meetings, but you have any type of voice, you have to be seated on the national committee. Am I right?
Right, but it's growing, right? We're emergent. We are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but there's no power in committees and things like that. The power is in people because people are the party. So we are building the party in all of the states of the country. We are building the party in all the communities of the country, the neighborhoods, the blocks. This is something that is spreading and is growing and lives in the hearts of so many different kinds of people. So if you want to build this party, get involved and step up, and there's a place for you.
There is absolutely a place. And I think that's what I want to encourage people to do. You can always, put your email out there, but put some way to get in contact with, you can always inbox me at Tracy, TRACY, M as in Michael, CARSON 74 at gmail.com. And I'll pass your email along to somebody that can get you to where you need to be connected to. I'm not the contact for the volunteer section of the website, but I can always make sure I'm getting you in contact to whom it is that you need to contact to get in contact with, because I think that's the thing that I want to emphasize is this is a people-powered movement. This isn't created by APAC. This isn't created by Big Pharma, Big Tech. And the reason I keep bringing up the power that's abused. They're abusing their monetary power because money does have power. I don't
and
like it.
And their power relies on stealing your agency.
Exactly. That's the other part. Their power, definitely. aligns with stealing your agency. Thank you for saying that. And our power relies on you. There are more of us than there are of them. And we're trying to get people to the table so that we can all band together and say, you know what? It's time. Now, Tim, this question is specifically for you. I can never say that word right. So you have Justice for All Florida under your description.
Sure.
Is it just you right now, or is it you and some other people?
No, I'm in discussion with a number of other folks throughout various parts of Florida. There's actually been a fair number of people from different parts of Florida that participated in the No Kings rallies that have expressed concerns over being sheep herded back to the Democratic Party through something like the No Kings rallies. With the Justice for All Party, I don't see any reason why we should particularly disagree with these No Kings rallies. That being said, we're not the ones behind them. As far as I can tell, it's the Democratic Party that's behind that. And they're just trying to sheep herd people back to the same uniparty.
Yep, that's a I was going to ask you guys about that because, and again, I have to thank Mark for this, making me realize, oh, you can do work for the Justice for All Party by going to those protests and saying, hey, person, they're not for you, right? They're just trying to sheep herd you back into something that has demonstrated, like the Democratic Party has demonstrated they don't work.
I actually came across one today, and they said to me, hey, be part of the 3.5%, which is research that, NVDA groups have been, throwing around since ACT UP. I mean, it's you have a certain amount of people and, you can affect regime systemic change. That's not something to believe. It's something that's been heard. 3.5% number anyway comes from the CIA trying to crush those movements. It was a researcher for the CIA named Erica Chenoweth. But, too, look at the co-option of any time there's something effective, right? It gets co-opted and brought into the collective blah, right? Like, think about all the AI images you see online, on Twitter, on stuff like that. You can just think about our politics as that, right? It's just this stuff that's like uninspiring, sappy, bland, boring, it doesn't make you feel anything. It just makes you not want to be involved. And the thing about this is, if you are a party of power, you do not want people to be exercising anything to change things. You want people, oh, you should stand on the roadside and look, you have power. The name of power is to give people to, it's like that classic thing of the pizza slice, right? Like, I have a whole pizza and I give you one slice and I tell you we split it equally, right? And that I give you some crumbs and we call it even. And it is through movements across the world have shown us time and time again that it is through direct action, it is through bringing the immediacy of an issue in front of people that change is affected through protest and through activism. But that is not something that they are okay with, and they want you on the sidelines. So I think you have to be very critical of how things are what they're asking you to do.
Exactly. Go ahead, Tim. I'm sorry, I was about to say something, but go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're good.
And you know what this takes, everybody? Money. See, this I got to be this person. I got to be this person. There is an event coming up August the 30th. I have said it before and I'll say it again. I am preparing for a 3-hour show. That means that if you are on the Justice for All National Committee, you should have got your email yesterday. I'm still looking for talent. We're going to have, it's going to start at 6 p.m. I'm preparing for a 3-hour show. Hopefully we'll have some singing. We'll have some people come in on briefly to talk about their support for JFA. We're going to try to raise $25,000 in one evening. Why? Because if we are to be taken seriously as a national party, we have to have at least a minimum, and Tim, correct me if I'm wrong about this, 14 federal candidates.
Mm-hmm.
And they each on the ballot, and they each have to raise $5,000. When we are successful, or more, but when we are successful in raising that, and I say when, not if, that means that there are 5 candidates that can go on the ballot. We need your help.
Here's something to keep in mind. When it comes to that $5,000 number, pretty much for any campaign to get on the ballot, they're going to have to raise that much money just in terms of doing the campaign work. Otherwise, they're not going to reach the ballot. So that number is entirely reachable for candidates that are looking to get on the ballot. That's a reasonable bottom number to look at.
Yep. And Henry, you were trying to say something. Go ahead.
No, yeah, you're not giving the money to go to the camp. You're giving us the money so that we can build the infrastructure we need to support these people, to embrace these people, to prepare these people, not just to raise $5,000, but to raise even more,
Yeah, exactly. It's the starting point. 25,000 is the starting point. Exactly. Yep. So that's right. So if you sing, you recite poetry, write a poem. I literally don't care. If you are Justice for All, write a poem, sing a song, do a rap, have a stand-up comedy routine. I literally don't care. In the words of a politician I heard that cracks me up, desperate times call for what? Desperate measures. And this is the time for us to stand up and be counted. Until we get publicly financed elections, which is something I greatly support, this is our avenue. And if you think about it, $25,000 is not a lot of money. That's literally, I mean, a brand new car used to cost that. Now new cars are like $40,000 or $50,000. It's not a lot. So I'm going to keep talking about this. I'm going to keep talking about it. If I had to go on by myself, I guess I'll have to go on by myself. But what I won't do is stand by and let this movement just go unsupported. That's not what I'm willing to do.
We've seen no successful party in the United States really since the mid-19th century. And a big reason for that is, in game theory, there's 2 principal theories, right? There's the median voter theorem, which governs both the Democratic and Republican Party, that if you appeal to the people who are the most ornery, who are the people in the center, you get everyone either to the left or to the right of them. There's the second theory in game theory called, which is essentially on do I believe that you can do something? If I come to you and I knock on your door and I'm a candidate for town council and I say, when I'm elected to, town council, we are going to build more parks so that kids can have a safe place to play after school. Do I believe that you will build more parks? Yes or no? And if I see that you're coming from a party that hasn't won a town council seat in my town before, I don't know, or you don't have this sort of track record or credibility around you, I may even agree with you about the parks, but I won't necessarily vote for you because I'm scared that that's just going to be a wasted vote that's not going to go anywhere. And so one thing I want to emphasize for people too is that all of this, the fundraisers, all the different stuff that Stacy's doing, all the different stuff that Timothy's doing, all the different stuff that all the different people on the podcast are doing, it's all very methodical and thoughtful and intentional to build the groundwork so it is something very, very serious and very, very impactful and very, very effective.
Yep.
And different from all these different things that have come before that have just gone nowhere and hit 1% and blah, 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 blah. They've hit that great filter. And this is set up to go beyond that. And
you
to
call
reach
me
people where they are.
Stacy. Don't do that. Don't ever do that again. You call me Stacy. I'm like, Stacy. No, I'm Tracy. I'm like, who? I'm looking around like, who we talking about? I'm like,
I'm talking about Stacy, the Justice for All supporter who's out there.
Yes, that's who he's talking about. He's not talking about
yes.
Tracy, the person that does this podcast and sometimes has to beg for guests to come on. But, that's a whole different show.
I was going with hypothetical Stacy because I figured.
I'm like, does he? No, because people do that. People will straight up. I'm like, I will say my name is Tracy, and then I'll spell my name Trac, no EY. That's one of my claws. I'm sorry. That and putting an E in my name. Oh, if you ever want to be my BFF, don't ever put an E in my name. I will come after you. I'm telling you right now, don't do it, because I cannot with that E in my name. But final thing for discussion, and I think this is an interesting one, is we're trying to cook a lot of meals at one time, right? We're trying to establish ourselves as parties. We're trying to, fundraise to get candidates on the ballot. We're trying to get candidates to run. We're trying to, get our name out there. My question to you both is, how do you see yourself achieving? No, let me backtrack that. What goal is it, that one goal that you have for the Justice for All party, and how do you see yourself achieving that goal?
The one goal that I have is to get at least 21, if not more, campaigns launched by the early part of 2026 for congressional office, such that we can meet the precedent that's been in the courts already set of getting the 14 candidates on the ballot that raise at least $5,000 to give us the national party status that's recognized by the courts. So that's my one goal, if you want to say where it is. I note, historically speaking, if we go all the way back to the elections of 1860, the Republican Party burst on the scene in a way that just out of nowhere, they changed people's opinions. And they did so because it was a group of abolitionists that were looking to abolish the leadership that had been running the country and take power back. In this case, it was specifically over the issue of chattel slavery. But we're no less fighting for the people in terms of the same way that the abolitionists were fighting back then. And that's what I keep in mind, is abolitionists rise. They're coming back to us, and that power can't be stopped.
I think Jay also, when he was on your podcast, had a really good goal with this, get us into the conversation, because right now it's not even in the conversation that there is a different kind of politics, that there's a different kind of way to do this, that it can be about we and not me. That's not even a conversation that enters people's lives, whether through podcasts, Substacks, media, whatever, brainwaves. It doesn't happen. So just even having that conversation there, even if it's something that is pointed to as one of several options, just being there present for people, where people are able to see that, opens a whole new way of understanding and being and viewing. And hopefully then people can look at that and say, you know what, I can be a leader too. Right now we have a politics of, the politics is for me and not for you. And you're not prepared to be a leader. You're not prepared to run. You're not prepared to do anything. And people can look and they can see, no, I can change things for the better where I live. And I don't need a ton of money to do that. I don't need a ton of connections to do that. I just need the justice, the love, the truth. And that is something that lives inside of all of us.
Those are really good answers. I think my goal, and because see, this is me being petty. This is me being extremely petty. I want the Democrats to be scared when they see Justice for All coming. I want them to be like, oh no, not these people. No, we got to straighten up because justice for all is out there. That's what I want. How I work that, I work it in 2 different ways. One is this podcast. I know 5 people watch it, but that's okay. I'm going to just keep with my 5. I'm going to rock with my 5. I'm going to do whatever I can to increase that audience. But that's one way I do it. The second way is by participating, in my local JFA Indiana group, in the national group. That's what I want. I want somebody, when they hear Justice for All and they're Democrat, I want them to be scared out of their wits. And yes, I kept my answer petty, and I know I kept it petty. Because that's just who I am. I tried. This is another reason why I can't run for office. Y'all, I'm too petty. I'm too petty. Like, I'm the queen of petty.
I'm not mad at you, and a lot of Americans are pretty petty. So to hear that there's a party that's out there just to be petty with the oligarchs, it sounds like something that people can really get on board.
Yeah, but I do want to remind you of there will be a Tracy's Weekend Review show tomorrow. I have to do the thumbnail for that. Got a lot to talk about, but tune in this coming Thursday. The Tracy Show periodically comes out of retirement. I will be interviewing Kayla Fitzgerald. If you watched the Our Voices, Our Future forum that I did, she was a guest on there, but she's going to be talking about Cop City because I've been wanting to talk about Cop City for weeks. We will have a show the 28th, but we will not have a show July the 5th because that's my brother's birthday. So there will not be a show July the 5th. I may do one the 6th and just talk about what I see the fundraiser doing. I'll probably do it then, but the 5th is my brother's birthday and I don't know what he's got planned. Now, if he says, hey, I don't got anything, then I'll come on and it'll just be me. And y'all know Tracy don't like being solo, but I'll do it. But just keep in mind this. If you want to work with the Justice for All Party in your local area, if you are all about truth, justice, and love, if that's your banner, if you wear it, get in contact with us. Learn how you can volunteer. There's lots of work to be done. There's room literally for everybody except for the racists, the homophobes, xenophobes, transphobes. We don't got room for you, but everybody else, yes, we have room for. And I'm going to make a plea again for anybody that wants to run for office. Contact Tim. Now, Tim, I'm not asking you to give out your email address. Don't do that. But again, you can always, I know how to get emails to people. Because I've been working with Jose to get a person in Washington that I think might be good to run as a Justice for All candidate. So I'm doing my job. We've got a lot of work to do because it's a lot of things popping off to the left and to the right. Gentlemen, I thank you so very much for coming on. I know this was last minute. Yeah, I'm going to try to do so much better about my scheduling and to keep track of who's scheduled to come on what day. Because I thought Paris, who's coming on next week, was this week. He's like, no, it's the 28th. I'm like, oh no, you're right. So thank you for coming in at the very, very last minute. I appreciate you guys so much.
Always a pleasure, Tracy.
So much fun, Tracy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. And I'm taking everybody down. I will see you tomorrow at 6:00 p.m. You can go back and watch my Best Works Actors Who Played Batman because it says it's got 1 view on YouTube. So I need more than 1 view, please. I know that has nothing to do with Justice for All, but I got to promote my own stuff. So I will see you all tomorrow, 6:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will do the outro and have a fantastic day, everybody.